You were never meant to be ordinary. But somewhere along the way, the world trained you to be. They taught you to be agreeable, to be polite, to dim your fire so that smaller men could feel comfortable standing next to you. And you obeyed. You smiled. You shrank. You became background noise in a world that only remembers wolves. But that ends today. Machiavelli did not write for the weak. He wrote for the man who understands that this world is not a playground, it is a battlefield, and the unarmed do not survive it. Power is not evil. Power is armor. And the man without it is not peaceful, he is simply prey. Every single day you spend without mastering these habits, someone weaker than you is rising above you, not because they are smarter, not because they are more talented, but because they understood one brutal truth you ignored. People do not respect potential, they respect presence. The 8 habits you are about to learn are not theories, they are weapons. And after today, you will never walk into a room the same way again. Number 1. They don't fear your anger. They fear your silence. Most men believe that raising their voice is a demonstration of power. They shout, they threaten, they make noise, and they wonder why no one trembles. Here is the cold reality. Noise is the language of the powerless. The lion does not roar before it strikes. It simply moves, and everything runs. Machiavelli understood something that most men will die without learning. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a loaded weapon pointed directly at the psychology of every person in the room. When you go quiet, people panic. They fill the void with assumptions, with fear, with confessions they never intended to make. Train yourself to speak less than necessary. This is not shyness, this is surgical. Every word you withhold is a word they cannot use against you. Every sentence you refuse to complete forces them to complete it in their own mind, and their imagination will always be more brutal than your words ever could be. Watch what happens when you stop explaining yourself. People who once questioned you will suddenly start questioning themselves. The man who demands no validation becomes the man that everyone desperately wants to validate. This is not coincidence. This is psychology operating exactly as Machiavelli predicted centuries ago. When someone disrespects you, the average man reacts. He argues, he defends, he exposes every wound he has. But you will do something far more devastating. You will say nothing. You will hold eye contact just long enough to make them uncomfortable. Then you will turn away, as if they were not even worth the energy of your anger. That dismissal will haunt them. Not your rage, your indifference. Because indifference communicates one thing with absolute clarity: you are beneath my reaction. And no insult, no threat, no humiliation cuts deeper than being made to feel irrelevant by a man who has mastered his own silence. Drop cold silence in the comments right now if you feel this in your bones. Because what I am telling you is not philosophy. It is the operating system of every powerful man who has ever made an entire room shift simply by walking through the door. Without saying a single word, the most dangerous men in history were never the loudest. Caesar did not scream his way to power. Rockefeller did not beg for boardrooms. They cultivated an aura so controlled, so deliberately cold, that people projected their own fears onto them. And those fears became the very foundation of their authority. Your silence must feel like a storm that hasn't broken yet. It must make people lean in. It must make them nervous about what you are thinking, what you are planning, what you already know that they don't. That nervous energy, that psychological tension, is worth more than any argument you could ever win with words. Practice this starting today. In every conversation, give 60% of what you want to say, and keep the rest locked behind eyes that reveal absolutely nothing. Watch how people scramble to earn the other 40%. Watch how the dynamic shifts. Watch how they begin to treat your words like currency, because you have made them rare, and rare things are always valued above the ordinary. Silence is not passive. Silence is the coldest, most calculated form of dominance a man can deploy, and once you master it, you will never again need to raise your voice to make an entire room feel the full weight of your presence. Number 2. The man who needs nothing from you is the man you cannot control. There is a weapon so rare, so psychologically devastating, that most men never discover it, not because it is hidden, but because it requires them to destroy the one thing they have been conditioned since birth to desperately protect, the need to be needed. And that destruction is where real power is born. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who relies on others builds on sand, but the prince who relies on himself, only himself, builds on stone that no flood of betrayal, no storm of circumstance, no army of enemies can ever erode. Neediness is not just weakness, it is a public confession of your own emptiness. Every time you chase approval, you hand someone a leash. Every time you need validation to feel certain, you give strangers the ability to collapse your entire internal world with a single cold look or a carelessly spoken word. You become a puppet, and the saddest part is that you tied your own strings. The man who has detached from outcomes walks differently. He speaks differently. There is a coldness around him that people cannot name but absolutely feel, a gravitational stillness that says, I wanted nothing from you when I walked in, and I will want nothing from you when I leave. That energy is impossible to manipulate. Watch how people respond to a man who genuinely cannot be moved by their approval or their rejection. They become obsessed. They work harder to impress him. They offer more, give more, bend more, all chasing a validation he will never hand over easily. Because he has mastered the one thing they haven't, he has become his own source. Drop unshakable in the comments if you are ready to cut every invisible leash you never even knew was wrapped around you. Because detachment is not coldness for the sake of cruelty, it is the deliberate, surgical removal of every external anchor that has been quietly drowning you beneath the surface of your own potential. This is the habit that separates the man everyone respects from the man everyone pities. Not talent, not looks, not money. Detachment. The moment you need nothing from the room belongs to you. Number 3. Wear a face they can read. Hide a mind they never will. Machiavelli said it without apology and without shame. The greatest weapon a powerful man possesses is not his strength, not his wealth, not his army. It is his ability to be completely unreadable while making everyone around him believe they understand him perfectly. That gap between perception and reality, that is where empires are built. Most men are open books. Their frustration lives on their forehead. Their ambition bleeds through their words before the plan is even complete. Their fear announces itself in the slight tremor of their jaw, the restless movement of their hands, the way their eyes drop 1 second too early. They are transparent, and transparency in a world of wolves is a death sentence. You must learn the art of the mask. Not deception for the sake of cruelty, but the cold, disciplined practice of controlling exactly what the world is permitted to see. Let them see calm when you are calculating. Let them see warmth when you are observing. Let them see contentment when you are 3 moves ahead of every person in the room. The most dangerous thing you can become is a man who smiles and means absolutely nothing by it. A smile that reveals no warmth, no vulnerability, no invitation. A smile that is simply a door that opens onto nothing. When people cannot read your interior, they become afraid of it, and that fear transforms automatically, magnetically, into respect. Study every room you enter like a general, studying a battlefield. Know who is performing, who is threatened, who is hungry for power, who is hiding weakness behind aggression. See everything, reveal nothing. Let them speak freely while you collect every word like intelligence that will be used precisely when it matters most. Drop unreadable in the comments right now if you understand that the most powerful version of yourself is not louder, not angrier, not more aggressive, but more controlled, more masked, more deliberately hidden than anyone in your presence could ever anticipate or prepare themselves for. Because the man they cannot figure out is the man they cannot defeat. And the man they cannot defeat is the man they will never, not openly, not privately, not even in their most honest moments, stop fearing and respecting for the rest of their lives. Number 4. Let them underestimate you. Graves are full of men who did. There is a strategy so cold, so mathematically brutal, that only the most disciplined minds have ever had the patience to execute it fully. It is not aggression. It is not intimidation. It is the deliberate, calculated art of allowing people to believe you are smaller than you are, and then watching their entire world collapse when they discover the truth far too late. Machiavelli warned his prince never to reveal his full capability to anyone, not to allies, not to advisors, not even to himself in moments of arrogance, because the moment the world knows the full measure of what you are capable of, they begin building walls against it. But the man they underestimate, that man walks through walls that were never built for him. Average men cannot resist correcting the false perception. Their ego screams for recognition. They over-explain their achievements. They drop hints about their plans. They need the room to know their worth before they have even demonstrated it. And in that desperate need for premature validation, they hand their enemies the exact intelligence needed to neutralize them completely. You must develop the cold patience of a man who is comfortable being underestimated. Let them dismiss you in meetings. Let them overlook you at the table. Let them speak over you with the confidence of men who have already decided you are irrelevant. Absorb it all, not with humiliation, but with the quiet, glacial satisfaction of a predator that has already chosen its moment. Because your moment will come, and when it does, when you move with a precision and a depth that nobody in that room ever calculated you possessed, the psychological damage will be permanent. They will never again make the mistake of underestimating you. But more importantly, they will never again feel entirely safe around you, because they will know that what they see is never the full truth. This is forbidden knowledge that the comfortable and the celebrated will never share with you, because it only works if they never know you know it. The most powerful men alive are not the ones performing power. They are the ones quietly accumulating it, while the world applauds someone else entirely. Drop calculated in the comments if you have the discipline to play the long game, because only the patient inherit the kind of power that nobody can ever take back. Number 5. Your loyalty is a currency. Stop giving it away for free. There is a truth so brutal that most men will spend their entire lives running from it, because accepting it requires dismantling every romantic illusion they were raised to protect. Here it is, cold and undecorated. Most people in your life are not loyal to you. They are loyal to what you provide. The moment you stop providing, watch how quickly the loyalty evaporates like it never existed. Machiavelli understood that misplaced loyalty is not a virtue, it is a vulnerability. It is the open wound through which your enemies, your competitors, and even your closest allies will drain you completely, slowly, quietly, and with a smile on their face the entire time. The man who trusts blindly does not deserve what happens to him, but it will happen to him regardless. You must begin treating your loyalty like a rare and finite resource, because that is exactly what it is. It is not something to be distributed freely to anyone who shows you temporary warmth or surface-level kindness. It must be earned through time, through consistency, through demonstrated sacrifice, And even then, it must be monitored with cold, unblinking eyes. Study the people around you with clinical detachment, not with paranoia, with precision. Ask yourself one ruthless question about every person in your circle. What does this person gain from my success? And what do they gain from my failure? The answer to that question will tell you everything Machiavelli spent his entire life trying to warn you about. The most dangerous people are never the ones who openly oppose you. They are the ones sitting closest to you, nodding, agreeing, laughing at your jokes, while quietly cataloguing every weakness, every secret, every vulnerable moment you were foolish enough to share in a moment of misplaced trust. Your inner circle is either your greatest weapon or your greatest liability. Drop sovereign in the comments right now if you are finally ready to stop bleeding loyalty onto people who were never worthy of a single drop. Because the moment you close that wound and redirect that energy entirely back into yourself, you will become the kind of man that people are not just afraid to betray, but terrified to even consider it. Because betrayal requires opportunity, and a truly sovereign man, a man who guards his trust like a fortress, never gives them one. Number 6. Move in silence. Power announced is power already weakened. There is one habit that separates the man who accumulates real, lasting, generational power from the man who merely performs it for an audience that will forget him the moment something more entertaining appears. It is not intelligence. It is not strategy. It is the suffocating, iron discipline of moving through your ambitions in absolute, impenetrable silence. The world has conditioned you to announce yourself, to post your goals, to share your plans, to broadcast your next move to an audience of people who are smiling at your face and calculating your vulnerabilities behind your back. Every vision you share before it is realized is a seed you plant directly into the hands of people who will uproot it without hesitation or remorse. Machiavelli wrote that men judge by appearances, and the man who speaks of great things before achieving them is not respected for his vision. He is marked as a target. Because ambition, when announced prematurely, does not inspire admiration in the hearts of those around you, it ignites envy, and envy is the most quietly destructive force in any man's environment. Watch what happens when you stop telling people what you are building. The silence itself becomes intimidating. They see you moving with purpose, but cannot decode the destination. They see discipline, but cannot identify the goal. And that uncertainty, that complete inability to predict you, plants a seed of unease in their psychology that grows into something very close to fear. Your plans are sacred. They are not content for conversations, not material for motivational speeches, not offerings for people who have not yet proven they deserve access to your inner world. Every goal you keep locked behind disciplined silence is protected from sabotage, from competition, from the slow poison of other people's doubt and discouragement. The most powerful moves in history were never telegraphed. They were executed swiftly, precisely, and without warning by men who understood that the element of surprise is not just a military advantage. It is a psychological weapon that, once deployed, permanently restructures how every witness perceives your capability and your danger. Drop shadowbound in the comments if you are ready to vanish from the noise and reappear only as results. Because a man who is all action and no announcement is not just powerful. He is completely, utterly, and permanently unstoppable. Number 7. Eliminate without anger. The coldest cuts are made with a steady hand. There is a form of power so refined, so psychologically advanced, that most men never reach it, not because they lack the strength, but because they lack the temperature. The ability to remove people from your life, your circle, your energy, not in explosive rage, not in dramatic confrontation, but in cold, surgical, permanent silence. No warning, no explanation, no return. Machiavelli was unmistakably clear on this. A prince who hesitates to remove what weakens him does not demonstrate mercy, he demonstrates incompetence. Every person you keep in your life out of guilt, out of history, out of the suffocating fear of being misunderstood, is a slow leak in the hull of everything you are trying to build. And slow leaks sink ships just as certainly as storms do. Most men destroy their own futures, not through their enemies, but through their tolerance. They tolerate mediocrity in their circle because confrontation feels uncomfortable. They tolerate betrayal because shared history feels too heavy to discard. They tolerate poisonous loyalty because loneliness feels worse than slow destruction. And in that tolerance, they sign the death warrant of their own greatness. You must develop what Machiavelli's coldest readers understood instinctively: the ability to assess a human being not by who they were to you, but by what they are doing to you right now, in this season, in this chapter. Sentiment is a luxury that powerful men cannot afford. Clarity is the only currency that matters at this level. When someone reveals themselves, through betrayal, through envy, through the subtle but unmistakable pattern of pulling you downward, believe them immediately, not after the third sign, not after the conversation, after the first cold, honest moment of clarity. Because Machiavelli knew, and now you must know, people rarely change their nature, they only change their strategy. The elimination must be emotionless, no speeches, no final confrontations designed to make you feel righteous, no explanations offered to people who were never operating in good faith to begin with. Simply withdraw. Your time, your energy, your presence, your warmth, with the quiet finality of a door closing in an empty room. Drop cold sovereign in the comments if you have finally understood that protecting your energy is not cruelty. It is the highest, most ruthless, most Machiavellian form of self-respect a man can practice in a world that will consume everything you give it and still demand more. Number 8. You were never meant to be loved by everyone. You were meant to be remembered by all. This is where most men fail. Not at the beginning, not in the middle, but at the final threshold. They absorb the knowledge, they feel the power, they taste the cold clarity of everything Machiavelli intended, and then they hesitate. Because somewhere deep beneath the discipline, beneath the silence, beneath the carefully constructed mask, they still want to be liked. And that want will destroy everything. Machiavelli did not write for men who wanted to be loved. He wrote for men who understood that universal love and real power have never, in the entire brutal history of human civilization, occupied the same body simultaneously. The man everyone loves is the man everyone feels comfortable underestimating. And comfortable men do not build empires, they maintain mediocrity. You must make peace with the cold, permanent reality that your elevation will disturb people, not strangers, people who know you, people who shared meals with you, laughed with you, called themselves your allies. Your growth will feel like a personal accusation to everyone who chose to remain still. And their discomfort is not your responsibility. It is your confirmation. Every habit you have learned in this video is a brick in a wall that most men will never have the discipline to build. Silence, detachment, the mask, strategic invisibility, surgical elimination, guarded loyalty, deliberate underestimation. These are not personality traits, they are architectural decisions. You are not changing who you are. You are building what you were always supposed to become. The world does not remember the agreeable. It does not carve statues for the accommodating. History does not dedicate chapters to the man who made everyone comfortable. It remembers the ones who moved differently, thought differently, operated on a frequency so cold and so precise that ordinary men felt it in their chest without being able to name what they were feeling. That is what you are becoming. Not a villain, not a tyrant, something far more rare and far more devastating. A man so completely, so ruthlessly, so undeniably himself that the world has no choice but to reorganize itself around his presence. Drop Machiavellian in the comments right now, because that name is not just a channel. It is a declaration. It is the coldest, most deliberate statement a man can make in a world full of noise. I have chosen power. I have chosen silence. I have chosen myself, completely, permanently, and without apology. And if this video reached something inside you that most content never touches, if it cracked something open that needed to be cracked, then do what the disciplined do. Hit that like button, subscribe to Machiavellian, and turn on notifications, because what is coming next will go even deeper, cut even colder, and take you further into the forbidden knowledge that most men will spend their entire lives too afraid to find.